After Outer World, people weren't exactly knocking down our doors to give us money to make another science fiction feature. So John Ellis, my partner, and I decided, hey, you know, we had success with the first one, let's try this again.
We did it ourselves. We did everything ourselves, and that was the hardest thing. We literally did just about everything.
You know, I wrote the script in 2 weeks. We were up and running in production within 4 weeks of deciding we were going to make a film. John went out and raised $50,000.
Assembling a cast was particularly difficult when you don't have a lot of money.
We went immediately back to our original actors. Rick Foucheux, who played Thornton in Outer World, was now Colonel Faraday.
Well, that's what Phil wanted. He wanted it to be a little exaggerated, and brought me to understand that if this guy was married to his sense of duty before becoming infected, he was really married to it afterwards.
Hans Bachmann, who was the lead in Outer World, was now the lead again in Invader.
It was really fun because a lot of Invader was actually shot on locations all over the place.
Rick Foucheux put us in touch with a wonderful actor, John Cooke.
And the movie has significance in a lot of ways, and ingenuity throughout it.
And it's got a hint of the War of the Worlds spaceship, and it's got bits of Dr. Strangelove and Failsafe.
Nuke them low.
And it's got a dash of Carl Kolchak, the Night Stalker.
Okay, over here's a giant robot, and it's got this tank in its hand, and it's like eating it and throwing it into burning things. And we're like going, yeah, okay.
When I got to the set, which was this army camp, I felt like, well, now these guys have really gotten serious.
And so we started shooting on a Marine base down in Virginia.
And we were down at an army base for a long time, 3 or 4 weeks, 2 weeks.
It was a marathon.
You guys have been shooting down there for quite a number of days.
I guess it just felt like 3 or 4 weeks.
You know, we were having 26-hour shooting days.
And John had on a t-shirt.
Living in barracks, eating in mess halls.
That said 14 days in hell or something. And the 14 was crossed out, there was a 15, and the 15 was crossed out, there was a 16.
It was pretty stressful on everybody, particularly John.
John had this eye that looked like no makeup person could have done this to somebody.
Probably got the worst when we had an intern wrecked John's car in the middle of the shoot, which was one of the props in the movie.
It was more than bloodshot. It looked like it was ready to just drop out of his head and maybe dangle on his cheekbone.
The whole thing was kind of surreal because it was an abandoned camp. I can remember the clouds being low and the place being almost spooky.
You know, we started out making Invader at the height of the Cold War. And by the time we finished production, which was probably almost 2 years after we started, the Strategic Air Command had stopped putting bombers on 24-hour notice. The Berlin Wall had come down. You know, a lot of the Cold War mythology was being undone.
The political circumstances during that period pushed the narrative into areas like, you know, the X-Files that didn't come along until later on.
Invader was basically shot in 2 chunks. You know, we did that first half movie in that first 2 weeks with $50,000.
My conclusion was that they're out of money.
Almost a year went by and we were actually faced with the opportunity of shutting down the picture and just abandoning it.
We kind of suspended shooting for a while.
So I'm getting desperate. So I kept hearing about this American film market that takes place in Santa Monica in California. And I thought, you know what? This is a last-ditch effort. If I can't somehow get money from Hollywood to finish this film, we're gonna have to dump this movie.
This situation is scaring the muffins out of me.
I kind of thought it may not make it.
And we basically crashed the American film market.
I thought it could go either way.
Many of them basically said, look, kid, you're never gonna get this picture finished.
But I always believed in you.
I went up to Menachem Golan's suite, and he and Ami Artsy were just ecstatic about the film. And he asked me, how much money do you need to finish this film? $175,000. And he said, okay, done deal. And literally from the moment that Frank McCall meets Colonel Faraday and General Anheuser and Andrews in that hallway outside the elevator, by the time that elevator door goes down and they start racing down to the cavern, it's literally 1 year later.
And I remember showing up and Phil kind of going, oh my God, what's with your hair?
If you're looking around, you can actually see Hans Bachmann's haircut changes many times through the course of the scene.
I remember he kept like pushing me back into the corner where the shadow was, so you could see my face, but then the shadow would like break right about. at eyebrow level.
As typical with all the shoots, we don't have a soundstage. We end up renting some small little warehouse in some industrial backlot.
The movie has ingenuity throughout it, you know, ingenuity on every level, not just the technological, but just on the level of production and direction that can get a movie made for that kind of money, that has the qualities and uniqueness that Invader has.
We build our miniatures in these warehouses and photograph them, and we build our sets. And it's always a juxtaposition, a Chinese puzzle of, you know, you build a set, shoot a set, pull it out of the way, open up some space, so you could build the next set.
And some of the technical special effects read as a bit of nostalgia in places, but the story really holds up, and the characters.
I think Frank McCall, although he is technically a hero, has very few heroic qualities about him. Whoa! He's a hero that does everything wrong, but it still comes out right. But boy, did he have a foul mouth on him too, which is not what I am either.
The script betrayed me in the most wonderful of ways, because I'm reading all this cool shit that General Anheuser is going to be doing. And of course, I was naive enough about filmmaking to really, well, if they say he's going to be in a helicopter, he's going to be in a bloody helicopter.
We went out to this museum and we photographed this Huey helicopter sitting surrounded by other aircraft.
Can that thing fly?
And photographed it in such a way that, you know, you just saw just the helicopter, you didn't see the rotating blades.
I didn't get an inch off the ground.
The actual takeoff shots of the Huey were done by a huge 5-foot-long remote-controlled model.
I've never ridden a helicopter in my life. Incidentally, I still haven't.
And then Gary Cooper, who used to help me a lot building models and props, constructed a papier-mâché version that John Ellis rigged with explosives, and we actually blew that up.
The part had it all for me, because there were quiet moments and there were hard-ass moments. And then coup de grace is, you know, he gets to go crazy. What's more fun for an actor than exploring that really dark side?
You watched him do this like crazy man thing, you're going, yeah, he's got this really down almost a little too well.
Phil being able to put a gun in my hand and watch me run around in an army uniform, what could be better?
One of my favorite things that I saw was John Ellis jealously protecting a 2-liter plastic 7-Up bottle. There's garbage everywhere on this set. He's spraying gold paint because that's going to be a shell in a big friggin' bazooka.
The effects production for Invader probably took about 6 months. I was the director of that, designed most of the effects. John Ellis and Brad Uvilla built most of the miniatures. We recycled the Toll War model from Outer World and painted it black and gave it wheels and turned that into our F-22 advanced stealth fighter. And John Ellis pretty much supervised all the pyrotechnics for the miniatures, sets, and effects. This is Big Harvey, the stop-motion puppet that Ken Walker built and that Kent Burton animated. And it was a heavy puppet, a bit difficult to manipulate, but Kent Burton fastidiously animated every single shot in the film. And literally, he and I spent weeks and weeks and weeks inside this tiny, small styrofoam cavern that I had built, populated by little model kits of tanks and planes. And Kent would animate the puppet, and I would animate the camera moves.
At the time, connecting the dots as you were filming that movie was impossible.
Menard Harvey is a bit of an outrageous character.
I'll grind your bones to make my bread.
Giant, how big? You know, well, 5 stories tall. Like, Phil, we have no idea where we're supposed to. Why do you pick a point over there and we'll look at that and act horrified?
The monster is the garage door, which is 4 inches from my nose right now and just off frame.
There was that one great scene where the robot's hand comes down and smashes the entire platform. I don't think we ever rehearsed that one. That one was like done on the fly one day. And I think we all it was like a Three Stooges moment. We all jumped, and I think we all jumped toward the same location. We all like clocked our heads together.
I'm fucking soaked in sweat. It's 90 degrees in here. There is absolutely, Phil Cook, there's no oxygen left in the studio. I'm
The
dying.
only thing I could think was, who do I have to fuck to get off this picture?
Invader was the first film to feature the stealth fighter, the F-117. And when I was writing the film, there were all these rumors in the media about this secret fighter plane that the Air Force had. And Testers, the model making company, had just released a model kit based on the stealth fighter design. The Air Force finally released the actual F-117 design, which was the arrowhead shape that you see today. So we quickly had to sort of retool and rethink. And it wasn't until years later that I realized that there were two stealth fighter designs that were being made. I think one was being made by Lockheed and the other by Grumman. I'm not sure how that worked out. And one was a teardrop design and the other one was an arrowhead design. And in the end, the arrowhead contract won out. Invader was the X-Files before there was an X-Files. It was basically, this contemporary look at the UFO phenomenon and government conspiracy and, men in black with sunglasses and, knowing that there's something secret afoot. This special edition version of Invader basically has a lot of digital cleanup, fixing things, technical problems we had for various matte paintings and things where we had camera weave or elements that sort of vibrate against one another. The biggest fix in the picture, though, is the aerial dogfight between the F-16s and the F-117. Back then we were doing it with miniatures on wires and fiber-filled clouds and what have you. And, science fiction ages like cheese, not real well. This is a film made with 1991 low-budget technology, so these sequences have been pretty thoroughly revisited, and I think hopefully are a little more fun and enjoyable for today's audiences.